Welcome to Couples Help Podcasts, helping couples have the conversations they should have about marriage, committed relationships, intimacy, sex, and family matters. Helping couples to grow to deep love and connection. Thank you to our listeners who allow us to create more free resources that will help couples adventure into intimacy and restore relationships. You make it all possible. Why not donate and invest into the lives of others?
Hello, welcome back. It's Louis Venter, your host of The Art of Loving and founder of Couples Help. Thank you for listening. Today is another Postbox episode, an episode based on all your questions and remarks, and thank you for sharing your comments. That helps me to create content that's relevant, helping couples to live in deep intimacy and connection. Today I want to share a few thoughts from a letter I received, an email, a beautiful letter written by a woman, and let's say her name is Sarah. And thank you for having the courage to sending me this letter and giving me the permission to host this on my podcast channel. I want to start by reading the letter, not the whole letter, just abstracts from it, to give you an idea what the topic is about and where this woman is writing from. Dear Louis, I've been married for 12 years, 12 happy years. But unfortunately the last 4 years I found myself in an affair. What a complicated place to live in. I know a lot of times that people have comments and remarks about people having affairs, that they're bad people, that they're bitches, that they are sluts. But I am really not. I'm a mother of 3. I love my husband, but I still found myself in an affair. My question is, how is it possible to love 2 people at once? Because that's really what's happening to me. I love my husband deeply, but I also fell in love with this man that I have an affair with. I love my home. I love the safeness. I love my kids. I love going on holiday with my husband. But I love the secret life I've created with John. It's exciting. It's alive. It's somehow the life I never lived. And it's not just lust, I promise you. I deeply love this man. But the chaos in my life is, I love 2 of them. And I've been able in the past to jump between 2 worlds, creating a space of secrecy where I build a bridge between the 2 worlds. But it's getting to me. I can't keep up the secrecy. I almost made a big mistake the following week. What do? Do I walk away from John and from having this excitement and the secret life where I feel alive, where I found identity I could never live in? And do I go back to my husband and safety and mundaneness? Do I break my husband's heart? Or do I choose excitement in a new life with someone new? I am so confused. I never knew you could love 2 people at once. Please advise. Sarah, a wife and a lover. First of all, thank you for taking the courage to write this letter. To all of you that is listening to this podcast, when we talk about the experience of an affair, I firstly want to invite you to a place of kindness and softness and vulnerability when we listen to this. I want to invite you to the other side of the bridge, to the world of the person being in the affair and causing the pain to the person on the other side. Usually when we talk about having affairs and the person having the affair, the adulteress, we bring shame and blame to that place. Today I want to invite you to the other side of the bridge, stepping into that world and maybe opening yourself up for the experiences and the emotions on that side. There's not a lot of times we spend time talking about the world of the one in the affair and experiencing living in an affair and in a marriage. It's sometimes a place, not sometimes, it's always a place filled with deep blame and shame and guilt. A place that causes deep anxiety and depression. And why I want to invite you to that place is, I think it will help us if we can talk about affairs and experiencing affairs, not from a place of blame and shame and guilt, but really asking the deep questions of the soul of why do we fall into these places that causes so much pain and destruction in relationships. And maybe if you can get to understand that, we can help each other to move back into healthy relationships. So what do? You're in a marriage and you're in an affair. The marriage is the place of safety and love and history and children and pictures on the wall and warm tea and fuzzy evenings in front of the television. While the affair is the place of excitement, new life, a relived youth, a relived sexuality or an awakening of the sexuality. How do you choose between these worlds? How do you make sense of what is real and what is not real? How do you weigh up what is most important and what will bring the most sense and value to your life? Because that is what affairs does. You can't live in affairs always. It always brings you to a place where one person needs to decide, am I married or am I the lover? It's always people living in two worlds, always driving back from the hotel room or the bar back to real life with the space with my husband or my wife and my children. And it's sometimes a long drive. Now, actually, it's always a long drive, even though it sometimes only is a few kilometers that you need to drive. And it's a drive filled with feelings of excitement and aliveness, but also feelings of guilt and shame and depression and loneliness and fear, the fear of your husband or your wife finding out and you losing everything that you've worked for. And the longer the affair continues, the longer the drive, the deeper the gorge that needs to be bridged between real life and the affair that I'm experiencing. And then the question comes up for us, how did I get here? It was just a coffee, it was just a talk, it was just a WhatsApp, it was play. And the weird thing for some of us, we've got the illusion that affairs only happens with couples that are unhappily married. That's not the truth. For some of us, the question is, how did I get here? Because I really love my spouse. I really love my husband. I really love my wife. And then the second question is, how do I choose? Because the drive back to real life always brings you to the choice. You cannot keep up with this secret life. You need to choose. You need to choose. How do I choose between real life and safeness and security and predictableness and warmness, and on the other side having the affair of excitement and erotic energy and being desireful and feeling alive? And for some time we try to balance that, having the best of both. But one day the affair brings us to a place where we need to choose. For a lot of us, we are fortunate enough to make that choice before the trauma happens. But for a lot of us, unfortunately, the choice needs to be made only after our partners finds out. From the letter I've read to you is that we made the discovery that we never knew we could love two people at once. And people living in an affair discovers this. We have the capacity in us to love two people at once. But at the same time, it creates deep anxiety within our souls. Why I want to share this is to say to you that we have affairs even though we love our partners deeply. Affairs doesn't always happen because we are unloved or unhappy in our marriages. It mostly happens to people that also love their partners and their marriage and live in a place where they feel content and safe and happy. And that is what makes the healing process so difficult if affairs came to the surface, is seeing the pain we caused to someone we loved. If we didn't love our spouses, we would just move on. We would stay in the affairs. We would stay with our lovers. But there's real love for the people we leave behind. Otherwise, we would just move on. So one morning, we need to make a choice. We realize that we cannot live these two lives forever. And practically that is difficult to do that, and emotionally unattainable to live in an affair and in a marriage. So maybe we should start with the question, why do we struggle to end it? If we know it's bad, if we know it's not right, if we know people are going to get hurt, why do we struggle to end it? And I think we struggle to end it for the same reason affairs started. Affairs are filled with erotic energy and desire, the kind of energy that is present when people fall in love in the romantic stage. And the erotic energy and the desire and the secrecy around that creates an energy that gives us a sense of aliveness in affairs. And with the aliveness, a sense of autonomy and control and individuality, something we lose and give up by being married and raising kids, and just being a mother or a father or a husband in a normal life situation. It's the same feelings that persist when we fall in love, when we fall in love with our husbands and our wives. It's a stage in love filled with hormones and endorphins. It's an endorphin-enhanced feeling of love that creates a feeling of aliveness and autonomy and belonging and excitement. But the difference is when you fell in love with your husband or your wife many years ago, you told the world about it. And when you tell the world about it, there's no secrecy. And you move over to the commitment stage of love. And when we enter into the commitment stage of love, or the love stage of love, we bring safety and caring into that space. And there's no secrecy. And when that happens, the desiring energy and the erotic energy dissolves. And that's the paradox of love and the complexity of relationships. On the one side, we want to move over to the belonging stage of love. We want the commitment, we want the safeness, but we also want to feel the desire. And from research, we have found out in the last few years that these two passions or these two energies cannot coexist naturally together. Love and desire. So in affairs, we move back to the desiring phase. But this time, we keep it secret. We don't tell the world. So the relationship in the affair stays in the desiring stage much longer than a real relationship in real life. The secrecy feels the desire, and therefore it feels more alive and sometimes more real, and it brings a lot more energy to the space than real relationships. So what I would like you to remember is that the secrecy fuels the desire in an affair. And what we think is it's because of this specific person that I feel so alive. It's this person that creates this feeling of aliveness in my soul. But it's not that. It's the place where the relationship happens, the secrecy, the desiring energy, and the secrecy around it. Sometimes it's got nothing to do with that specific person. So what I help couples with realizing in affairs, it's got not so much something to do with the person I'm having the affair with, than the place where we meet, the place of desiring erotic energy. What you fell in love with, I believe, is not so much the person, but the place where you played and where you came alive. And that's the difficult thing about making a choice. Because in marriage, that's sometimes difficult. That is in the love stage. We can get a sense of erotic energy and we can bring the desiring energy back. But it is very hard work. And it doesn't happen naturally. It's connecting work that needs to be disciplined, and people that needs to create disciplined connecting patterns to bring back the desiring energy with the person I love. It does not happen naturally. And it doesn't happen naturally because there's something wrong with your marriage. It's the normal pattern of love. In the love stage, the erotic desiring energy dissolves. And we need to do very hard work to bring that back. It's not because you're married to the wrong person that happens. It's not because you've done something wrong as a couple. It's the natural flow of marriage and love and relationship. We don't need to accept that. So when couples journey with me, we do the hard work of bringing back the desiring energy in a committed relationship. That's actually the challenge, and it can be done, but it's hard work. But on the other hand, in affairs, it happens naturally. The feeling of erotic are present just because you're in an affair. And the secrecy around that creates erotic feel in that space. So why I would like to share this with you is that affairs will always feel more alive. And if you make a choice, staying with your husband or creating a life with your lover, and your marker is aliveness, the obvious choice will always be your partner that you met in the affair. But what people in an affair does not realize is that as soon as you choose your partner in an affair and the secrecy is broken, you will experience the same feelings as marriage. The chances are that it's not about the person, but the space where the affair happened. The obvious choice would be the affair if the marker for you is aliveness. I just repeat this. But as soon as the secrecy is broken, you will experience the same feelings as marriage. The chances are that the person that you fell in love with in the affair is not necessarily a better match, a better lover, or better for your soul. So the decision, a good decision, for me would not be for what you feel, but what are truly true. What is the truth about the place where you are living in the affair? What is the truth? The truth probably are that most of the times there's someone back home that loves you. Someone that doesn't want to lose you. That would give you what you need if you learn to ask for it. Someone you have memories with. Someone you share children with. You are where you are because both of you lived a certain life at a certain time that caused numbness and disconnection. And in my experience, if you reconnect, you could bring back what you think you've lost and you can grow back into connection. There's someone that is willing to do the hard work to reconnect with you because they love you. And the second thing is, I think what you feel that you get in an affair is more than just aliveness and love and desiring. Mostly, it's a cover-up for personality and emotional issues that you don't want to take responsibility for, or you want to face in real life with real people. An affair and the desiring stage give us what we cannot get or achieve in real life with real people. We become someone in desiring that we struggle to be in real life. In my experience, mostly, it's deeply unhappy people, unhappy with self, that falls into affairs. And what we do is we blame our partners for our unhappiness. And there's a few things. For some of us, we become happy in affairs. For some of us, we become visible in affairs. For some of us, we become someone that is good enough, that is appreciated, that is adored, that is desired. Because actually what we live with is a deep, underdeveloped self-identity. And the affair is a cover-up for that. We are actually very unhappy people that goes to affairs to cover up the struggle in our soul that we don't want to look at. So the probability are that you are in an affair, and it's got more to do with your story and the unfolding of your soul than the partner you're living with. And what we discover after affairs is that this person with whom I felt so much love for and desire and erotic energy with, the person I left my husband and my children and my wife for, I wake up one morning still feeling unhappy, again feeling invisible, again feeling that I'm not good enough. So the question I would ask you in affairs is, what are you walking away from? What are you not looking at? What are you self-soothing with? What are you not seeing about your own story? The next thing I want to share with you is that affairs, the relationship in affairs, follows the same relationship patterns as the old relationships that we walk away from. Somehow we live in the illusion that with this person that I feel so alive with and I experience so much erotic energy with, that this time it would be different. Our relationship will not get stuck in frustration or power struggles or conflict. We will be in this narcotic, erotic stage for the rest of our lives. It will not be like that. As soon as this relationship, as soon as the affair breathes air and the secrecy is broken, the relationship will move over into the next stage. As soon as you start seeing each other more regularly, you make dates, you go away more often, you demand more from each other. You will move over to the love stage and you will experience the same pain, the same frustrations as the relationship you walk away from. Affairs creates the illusion that with this person, this time, it would be different. It's never like that. The other truth I want to share with you is that we sexualize our deepest unconscious needs. So it's never just sex, it's never just the orgasm, it's never just penetration. Sex is bringing an action to the words we don't have. We sexualize our deepest unconscious needs. For some of us, we need to be seen, we need to be held, we need to be heard, we need to be appreciated. And in the erotic stage of love, sex brings that sense of visibility and safeness and being heard. But sex only brings you so far. So the affair relationship will also evolve to a place where sex and erotic energy will not be enough, where you will ask things like, please see me, please listen to me, please just sit with me. And that person will always, someday, sometimes, will not be able to do that for you. So the chances are that this relationship will also end up at a place sometimes when you feel alone, isolated, and invisible. Just having sex and having erotic experiences and being on a love high will only bring you so far. So what do you do if you're caught up in this world between desire and love, a husband and a lover, or a wife and a lover? I know it's a complicated place and sometimes a very difficult choice for a lot of us. But I would love it if you would consider, and if you get all the courage in the world, to break off the relationship in the affair. It will hurt you, it will hurt your family. And to step back into your marriage with your best energy. And if you step back, trying to understand in what ways you broke connection, to try to understand all the unconscious things that is happening in the space between you and your husband and you and your wife, and try to step back into intimacy. Coming back to marriage does not mean getting back into the old life where you felt invisible and where you felt you are dying. It's a coming back and choosing to understand what needs to happen for me to get back to a relationship where I feel alive. Sometimes an affair can inspire relationships to do that. So I don't need to live in a relationship that's mundane, where I feel invisible, where I feel I lose my autonomy, my individuality. I want to come back to the marriage, but this time it needs to be different. There are good therapists that could help couples to grow from an affair into a relationship where we step back into aliveness with each other. So if you're there and you want to step out of the affair, a very important thing is to break all contact with the person you fell in love with. Sometimes it is as complicated and hard as leaving your workplace if the person is working with you. I don't think it's possible to be in contact with the person you had an affair with. Breaking all contact is one of the wisest decisions you can make. And if you're at a place where you need to tell your partner about the affair, it will be good advice to get counseling on how to do that. How do I tell my partner about the affair? What to tell my partner? When to tell my partner? And what needs to happen when that trauma comes up? And what do we need to do? And if your partner already found out, it's very wise to get counseling. An affair brings a relationship to one of the biggest experiences of trauma for us as humans. We need counseling. We need intensive specialists helping us to how to make sense of the pain, how to listen to the pain, how to understand the affair, and how to recreate trust with the person that I wounded by having the affair. Leaving the affair, breaking the affair, is getting real with yourself. It's stepping back into real life. It's leaving an avatar behind and facing yourself with real people in real life. asking difficult questions that you postponed for many years. I would advise doing that. That always helps us to be integrated people, growing to happiness, integrity, and intimacy. Thank you for listening. And thank you for having the courage to ask the difficult questions and to do the hard work of relationship. So I never measure healthy couples on if there's disconnection or pain. I measure healthy couples on how quick they respond to pain by stepping back into connection. May you have the courage to face this big giant and trauma called affair, to every day and each day choose connection, to step back to meet each other in the real life, in love and in kindness. Please keep on sending your questions and your comments. Love and kindness.
Couples Help welcomes suggestions for podcast topics from our listeners. Please leave comments if you liked this episode, have questions, or would like to suggest a topic for our Postbox episodes. Thank you so much for listening to our free podcasts. Our goal is to inspire you to pursue an abundant marriage and sharing this journey to loving your partner into wholeness. Are you prepared to ignite the love? Why not sponsor a podcast episode today?